So I think we've cracked the code here. I found a way to use this style of CUES front derailleur. So this is the short, stubby mountain bike one, perfect for running subcompacts. And it's also the side swing one where the cable routing goes through the front as opposed to the down pole. I found a pretty simple and elegant way to make it work with the CUES Road shifter. And I know what you're thinking, this says CUES here, the shifter says CUES on it. Shouldn't just work? Isn't that the promise of Shimano CUES? Yes, but in practice, it does not. Just to catch you guys up, CUES came out a couple years ago and it was meant to combine all the lower to mid-range road and mountain bike group sets and have them all communicate with each other. But that hasn't necessarily been the case in practice. In my previous CUES hack video, this was like last week, we got this version of the ATB mountain bike CUES front derailleur to work with the road shifter. These look fairly similar, but they're actually pretty different. You can see this one uses a downward cable pull, and again, this one loads a cable from the front. For whatever reason, when I tried to install the downward cable pull version, it wasn't working with the CUES front shifter. It just required a lot of tension, a lot more cable pull. So essentially this one wouldn't work even though it says CUES right there, right? You guys all see the CUES, it's not too shiny. This is the officially supported CUES front derailleur. And what's interesting is that it does use the kind of more modern link toggle system. So not only is there a high and limit screw that doesn't work like typical high limit screws, there's a cable tensioner. There's also a screw here for stabilizing the derailleur against the frame. So if you've used, modern GRX or Shimano Road, that's essentially this. We can deduce that the Shimano CUES front road shifter for the front derailleur is essentially using the same mechanics as like a Shimano Road. So it should work with derailleurs like this, but for some reason doesn't work with mountain bike front derailleurs like this. At least with this down cable pull. This is where things get like really confusing. Someone had mentioned that they had some success using certain XT derailleurs with Shimano Road 11-speed shifters. I asked them which one, and it was a model that looked similar to this. So although these have very similar cage profiles, the routing is different, and maybe that changes the amount of leverage or cable pull. So a derailleur like this, so again, that has routing through the front, would work with a road shifter and therefore would work with road CUES. The way I discover a lot of these hacks is I'll make a video, people will make suggestions, some of them are just like dumb, some of them I'll investigate, and if it looks like feasible, then I'll give it a go if I have the parts. As you guys can see, this is a very expensive endeavor for just a video. Like all this CUES stuff we bought, a lot of it with the help of Old Man Mountain. This video isn't sponsored, so if you like this content, if you like this continuing down the rabbit trail, then please consider supporting the channel by joining us on Patreon or picking up some merch. That's how we afford to buy all these parts. So basically, I got this derailleur to work with the road shifter, but there are some quirks. There is one added piece that you'll need and some things to consider. So that's what we're gonna do here. I'm gonna disassemble this functioning version and walk you guys through what I did, what you'll need, and some of the challenges of this setup. I'm gonna start with the shifter. So we've got the CUES front shifter and typical cable routing stuff, but you can see this is where the shenanigans begins. This frame is designed to have cable stops here, but with this method, I needed a way to bypass the cable stop. I didn't want to cut completely new housing, so I used this pretty interesting double-ended ferrule. I suggest everyone have something like this. They're super useful. They're sized for shift or brake housing, so make sure you get the right diameter. So essentially, this lets me extend the shifter cable run all the way down to the front derailleur. On this bike, there's no cable stops. Again, sometimes there's clamps or something. With this, I just had to resort to zip ties. It's kind of ugly, but it works. So I zip tied it to this point, and then down here at the bottle cage, another one at the bottle cage, and that leads to the derailleur. So kind of ugly, not very elegant, but trust me, it works. I might put another zip tie here just to keep it a little bit tidier. So the part that you'll need is actually this, and that is a inline barrel adjuster. And the reason you need this is because most front derailleurs, especially for road, don't have a way to adjust them, adjust the cable tension. So this is what that adds. So this is what that adds in. That's kind of what the link toggle does. It gives you that additional cable adjustment in the derailleur itself. On a frame like this, we would usually find the cable adjustment through these stops, but since I am bypassing it, we did have to put a place where we could put cable adjustment. And that's essentially the only other piece you need. I did find in setting it up, this is another suggestion that someone had left, is to pre-tension the front derailleur so you're already taking up as much cable slack as you can. So I'm going to undo this and I'll show you how to do that right now. Okay, first off, I'm going to cut off the cable head here. I'm going to release all the tension here just to show you guys from basically step 0. If you guys find these videos helpful, please let me know. I get so many comments of like people like, why are you doing this? This is like pointless. For me, I find this as a fun, creative act to problem solve, to figure out how to make things work, which shouldn't work, presumably. You guys know I like to do other things like paint paintings and all that stuff. This is another one of those creative outlets. I guess it's a hobby of sorts. And just because I do it doesn't mean you have to do it. You know, if you don't like front derailleurs or whatever, but there are some people that want to know how this works, and this video is for them. And if it's not for you, that's fine. We can still be friends. Go watch something else. So I'm going to scooch over here for a second. Maybe this might make a good thumbnail. Okay, so this is the piece that I added. It's a fairly standard like inline cable adjuster. Maybe that's what it's called. I know Jaguar makes some of these. There's some other generic brands. I like to keep a couple of these around because they're handy for so many things. So typically I've used this on rear derailleurs, focusing in the right place. So typically I've used something like this on rear derailleurs to add adjustment. Again, for the same reasons, using mountain bike derailleurs with road shifters, they typically don't have cable adjust. So this is a quick and elegant way to do it. One other thing you would need that's not obvious is some kind of shim. This type of front cable routing CUES and mountain bike derailleurs, they tend to be mostly clamp-on with a built-in clamp, and they're oversized to 34.9 for mountain bike tubes. So I am using a 3D printed eccentric shim just to get it into place here. This shim in particular was designed by our friend Dr. Welby. Shout out to him. Super smart guy, wealth of knowledge. Okay, so we've got our cable housing run. Got a ferrule here. This is zeroed out, and I'm just going to pass this through here. These style derailleurs have always kind of scared me a little bit because they're just so different from like the downpull road derailleurs, but I really like them. You know, road bikes typically aren't set up to accept them, but I feel like the shifting is so much lighter and crisper. It just takes a lot less force at the lever. So when you shift this setup compared to the previous hack, this one takes way less force, less cable tension in the system. The other one works for sure. But the tension is fairly high. Okay, so this is a part which is more art than science. So what I've found that you have to do so that this works and you're not like maxing out the cable tension on this is when you do the set screw is to pull the cable as you would, but also to push the cage out. How much? A fair amount. I'd say pull it all the way out and then give it a little bit of slack. It doesn't have to be exact at this point. Actually, I'm going to take up a little bit more. We want to definitely take up as much cable as we can so the barrel adjuster doesn't have to be totally adjusted outwards. I'm just going to go all the way here actually. Let's try this. And then it should settle back into Oh. So if you've got a friend or a person, you can have them pull this while you're doing this part. Okay. We'll try a front shift. Okay. No go. But you can see why you want to pre-tension this quite a bit, so you're not having this pulled all the way out to make it work. So this tells me I could have gone back and maybe add a little bit more tension, but I'm just going to try it here. Get in there. Okay. So there doesn't seem like a way to avoid adding cable tension through the barrel adjuster, but you can definitely minimize how much you need. All right. So this is where I start fudging with the limit screws. I've shifted to the lowest gear in the back. This is slightly rubbing on the inner plate there, so we're gonna move that over just a bit, and hopefully we'll still maintain a good shift there. Yeah, there's like the tiniest bit of rubbing. I feel like this is something I can live with. So it's not perfect at the moment. I was able to get it a lot closer, and of course now that the camera's running, it's not doing so good. Okay, so that is how to get this style of CUES shifter or mountain bike front derailleur to work with Shimano CUES or the more modern Shimano road shifters. Again, the big thing we had to do was add some form of cable adjustment if the frame doesn't have it. So we use that inline adjuster and put it here. Another thing we had to do so it wouldn't have to work so hard is kind of pre-tension the cage, so pull it out and then tighten the cable and have it reset. So you've got two ways to do it now. You could do it with the down pull style and use something like a tan pan or something. Maybe combining that with pre-tensioning the cage will make it a lot easier. Or you can use this front cable routing one, put a barrel adjuster and then just pull the cage out and tighten it down. Again, probably not officially, actually definitely not officially endorsed by Shimano or your local pro mechanic. But if you're feeling brave and want to tinker, then give this a go. Hopefully this was helpful. Sometimes I question my life decisions about, how many front derailleurs I own and how many times I'm disassembling a perfectly fine bike. My goal with this is I have a couple goals. One, it's just fun. It's like problem solving for me, and I just share the solutions with you guys. Two, I think there are some other people that want this, and there's not a lot of good resources. Or you'll see like a Reddit post that says I tried this and this and this, but no proof. And for me, unless I see it in video and it's working and you show me the parts, then it's just internet BS, just gossip, vaporware. My goal with these videos is to take all these alleged solutions and really see what works and what doesn't. Third big reason I do these videos is, to show you guys, how not to be afraid of your bike. Like, I am not the best mechanic. I didn't go to mechanic school. Like, I learned through a local bike co-op. I broke a lot of parts, but slowly, given time, you start to demystify things like the front derailleur, cable adjustment, cable pull. Once you get over that initial fear, the world is your oyster and you can ride the bike you want and not the bike the bike industry thinks you should be riding, especially around gearing. Like, I feel like gearing tends to be overgeared. It's geared, no pun intended, towards athletes, towards people that are racing, and not really towards people who are touring, want lower gears, all that stuff. That's why so many of my hack videos revolve around getting low gearing. And I guess there's one last thing I want to point out. To be clear, it seems as if I've been picking on Shimano a lot lately, and that's actually because I really like Shimano. I prefer Shimano to SRAM, and they just get so close, but then they drop the ball at like the 5-yard line. So when they make these videos or these kind of spicy title and thumbnails like, Shimano fail, it's not because I don't like Shimano. I really like Shimano. I just feel like they got to see it through. They got to get their message straight on CUES. They got to figure out like a bunch of things. I do this, so if anyone from Shimano is watching, I do this with love. I think CUES for me is probably the most exciting group sets from the major manufacturers at the moment. And yeah, hopefully this hack helps you out. If you want to support the channel and keep these hacks going, these front derailleurs are not cheap for front derailleur in 2025. Consider supporting the channel by joining us on Patreon. That's the best way to do it. It gives us a monthly budget. We can plan to purchase other parts, go on trips, make interesting videos, literally keep the lights on like that light back there. Yeah, every bit helps. And as always, keep the supple side down. And one last thing, I know there's already some keyboard warrior that's like, it works in the stand, not on the road. I've ridden this. I took this on the fairly long ride. It works great. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.